Purim.
Who's my support system? What do you mean?
Achdus, and the story of Purim. It took the rabbis big debates into the 5th or 6th century whether to include the book of Esther into the canon in the Hebrew Bible. They debated other books as well. Shir HaShirim was too erotic. Koheles was too much apikarsis in it. And Eve was also questioning God. So when religion was getting organized like that, people these books were becoming like ignored. And your average student never looked at it and never paid attention. But the story of Purim, without the book of Esther and the Torah, what was the holiday in the 5th century? What did they have? Did they have drinking? Did they have all this stuff? So what we do know, and there's a book by Alain de Botton. It's called Religion for Atheists. And he explains different religions. And in Yiddishkeit, he explains Birchas HaIlanos, in Chodesh Nisan. He explains I'm on the way to a birthday party. And my daughter's falling asleep, so it means I have to go back home. I thought I have time to do this. Anyway, he explains bar mitzvah. He explains mikveh as forgiveness, bar mitzvah, the sadness of the parents. He goes into justifying practices of religion, but not the religious claims that it's based on a God and laws cannot be changed and an aguna cannot remarry and all this nonsense. So he basically he argues that atheists could use religion. So anyway, there's the Purim story and the Purim holiday. People ask, is it the Jewish Halloween? And it's yes and no. Certainly not. It's independent of that. But the church, the Christians had this type of holiday where in the church they would bring in a donkey, and the head galach would say like some stories about funny stuff about like a donkey's farts and this, and he would make like vartoides that were funny. And you see it very, very similarly in the Purim the Yiddishkeit today. So what happened was, and then you have the drinking, getting drunk, and people, there was a lewd, like promiscuity, married. It was one day a year that people were allowed to do this. And then the guy, this philosopher, Alain de Botton, who's actually an architect, he said that this was also a psychological need in the human mind because we conform to society all days of the year, so there has to be like one day of release. Just like there's Yom Kippur, a day to be sad and things like that. So I think that's where the word topsy-turvy comes from. But anyway, this was a holiday that was completely a one-day a year. And also we know from the Chazal, they wouldn't send Shomrim on Purim to watch people. Why not? Because clearly Purim was that day when lots of lewd acts. Not that we're not that we're arguing to bring it back. It's totally up to people. As long as you don't hurt anybody, it's totally up to you. But in unison, like Be'achdus, when we do it Be'achdus, like so Arabian Nights, this party, which was such traditional entertainment, which is belly dancers, which wasn't a big deal. I remember going to my cousin in Israel's house. He was a very Hasidic family, very proud. They're very wealthy. They had to be good at everything. So he was also a big learner and very Hasidic, you know. And he would say that, like, he would go in his room, back, in the back of the house there, and they would pull out some of his beer, and he would put up the belly dancers. He said, "This is what I like watching." And I had I didn't like that because you have to pay too much attention. It's very slow, and I didn't have the time for that. But he liked it, and that was his thing. I think my brother could have got him into it or something like that. But this is a form of art that not everybody appreciated. But here's the key point of why people were, why jealous people got angry. Number one is a key point here. These are not Talmidei Chachamim. These are not Rabbonim that made the storm. And the ones who carried it, like the platforms and websites who caught the audience, were just naive people that are not sure what the right thing to do is. I think it was COL. The guy, he's never been the guy who runs it, he's never been the guy to really look at a problem and notice a solution. He's always been this naive guy, so he's not one way or the other. But the ones who were malicious about it, trying to boycott and hurt people for no reason because they just had a party outside Crown Heights. So those are people who are not Talmidei Chachamim. If you ask the Rabban, the Rabban say this is 100% fine. And the language he used, you can tell the maliciousness. If you look at the writing, he goes, excessive mingling. Everyone knows, even a Kal Shebakalim, there's no such thing as excessive mingling. Even during the hottest moments of sex, it's Ratzi V'shuv, Ratzi V'shuv. So what does it mean, excessive mingling? He's looking for words to prey on the naive. The whole article was written for naive people. It wasn't written for Rabbanim. It wasn't written for people who are worried that their wives or family members are there and they're unhappy or underage and parents are like in disagreement. It was just to reach the naive people to cause pain. And that was the whole point. Now, if a guy goes single-handedly and he goes outside of a community and he does what he does, including those who are sexually repressed who are writing it, you can tell a lot of that in the writing. You can tell there was a lot of that repression in the writing. Ask any professional. It could help you look at it if you want to do it on your own. It's a lot of fun. And besides for that, it was also the jealousy. Now, they say jealousy. You have to understand, it's not that jealousy that you could dismiss. You have to look in the details here. It's that if somebody went, they probably do that themselves, and you see it all the time, that the biggest kanoim were like Weberman, who was sexually abusing children repeatedly, constantly. He was the guy to burn the effigy of the Rebbe in Williamsburg and things like that. And you see with the Christians, a lot of them who preach against. So it's not. It's first of all, it's sexuality. Here's a point along the same line. If it was a bunch of people going to eat not kosher or questionably like Hebrew National, right? Because it wasn't a sex party. They say it was just a little bit on the edge. It was a little bit not what you're used to when the Rebbe would make his farbrengens and hype people up that Mashiach is around the corner, try to get people into his imagination and put them on their toes. But so they're not. It wasn't like that, you know. When the Rebbe was alive, nobody was doing anything really. A lot of things were backward. People weren't getting their education and things like that, unfortunately, because the Rabbanim and Klal Yisrael didn't have power to stop the Rebbe. So a lot of people went that way, and unfortunately, and it lost their marriages and things like that. And you can track these things, and it's very unfortunate. But now that the things are more relaxed, so it wasn't excessive. It was just what he would call non-traditional. So if somebody would go privately and go to any what you call strip clubs, Mashal, right? So the guy, very likely the guy who wrote it does that. And even if he knows of someone that does, he would never get angry. So the reason he's angry is because it's people doing it ba'achdus, together, and that makes him feel like a loser. Because even if because he could have been invited, but he feels guilty, and he also feels like he wasted, like he loves it so much, and he feels so bad that his whole life he couldn't have done this, which is it's 100% fine. And now I was sitting with these hardcore briske guys, and they're very, very frum, and they were telling me like things about Lubavitch that were not true, but some were, and I was trying to eliminate the myth. And they said to me, Lubavitch is not makpid on tznius at all. And I said, I passed the street, we're into it so much. He said, Lubavitch are not makpid on tznius. I said, they are. But then he corrected himself and he said, tznius is only from Chazal. Kosher is from kosher food is a kind of like a deraisa, but tznius is only a chazal anyway. So he noticed that, even a very learned boy and a very fafrumta boy. So the whole issue of tznius and the whole lewd, it's just a little moral panic, because the people going to eat treif, nobody would make such a panic. And clearly a lot of the shchita today is, unfortunately, it's nevelis anyway. It's just that we do it because we want to be Jewish and we want to pretend, and we have to. We don't know that we have a choice, and people won't want to go vegan. But So number one, if somebody did it alone, nobody would make a panic. The guy himself wouldn't worry about it. He would do it himself. So what happened? So it's not Talmidei Chachamim. It's just instigators in the community who also, another thing about it is they don't care the damage that article does. Because what the article does is it tells the smart people to leave the community. Smart people say, look, if these are morally panicked people with such low morals, the way they behave, so it's not a good place to raise your children. So those people who write that article and do that damage, They do not care about the loss. So if you think that fighting a war by showing them the losses, you're only showing the good people the losses, who are the Rabbanim who actually care about the future of Yiddishkeit. So, and I'll finish off with a great story. I was at the Purim Party a few years ago at Chabad in Los Angeles, Sola. Very good shul. They learn about Yomi. It's a very nice, and have a Sephardic minyan. It's like a, and there was a boy, won't say his name, and he saw the guys were dancing so sexy. So I went to the ladies' side, and I was just like looking. I think I took a picture. Nothing that I felt was, you know, out of hand or anything. And he got into a moral panic. He told the Rav, you know, when you make a panic, people can't think it straight. So he told me something like, why did you, taking a picture of you, I'm going to show it to your future shidduch. And I was laughing in my heart because I already had a girlfriend that I loved. And I was like, if this guy only knew. But I was thinking then about religion in a very, it was the beginning. I was first having the first thoughts about it. And then I said to myself, wow, this is a morally panicked place. This is not a place of Bnei Adam, of smart people. This is a place of backward people. And no matter which way I slice it, I could scream Chai V'Kayim. But this, I could scream Chai V'Kayim, but it's not going to change the fact that unfortunately these people have a moral panic about nothing. And he said to me, I'll throw you out. And I said, I'll leave right now. And I wanted him to just calm down. So a few years later, I went over to him and I thanked him. And I told him, if you wouldn't have made this whole tumult by the Purim Party, you wouldn't have showed me something that I couldn't get in class or in a book. Because something demonstrated live. I needed to see that from you. And he didn't know that I was actually giving him a compliment. And I was sincere about it. He thought I was, he thought I was like, you know, joking, or maybe it's a bad thing that I fried out or something like that. I said, no. Now I could always be frum like you, and if you ever did a levaya or a bar mitzvah or funeral, or you want me to be Lubavitch or some Yutas Kislev, or something happens, or the Rebbe dies again or comes back again. So then I could always show up. But to where to raise kids and to live a healthy life, you showed me that that's not the way, and I'm forever thankful for that, because it's an everyday reward. Breaking out of as one guy said to me, you know, you're in a cult. He looked at me, a son of a big Gvir in Chabad, that he helped a lot during the Rebbe's campaign about Mashiach. So he helped a lot, and then he moved to Israel. So he says to me, you don't realize you're in a cult. You're going to sit on a plane and you're going to watch a movie and you're going to feel guilty if you see a fellow guy, a Lubavitcher, just like an Arab drinking wine, and he's in a bar and he sees another Arab from the same town and he feels guilty and ashamed. You don't realize you're in a cult. So the reward for breaking from that mentality, and that leaving high school, or a bad high school for that case, is the reward is every day, every minute, every hour. So I was really thankful to him, but he didn't get it because he's still living in that world and doesn't realize, I mean it. Thank you for making the moral panic, because now I'm friendly with Rabbanim, I'm friendly with the better people in Klal Yisrael, but I'm not like running with the masses. Oy, mincha now, oy, this, that, you know, the Rebbe's landing, he's flying. It's like, it's something that people do, but it's not for you, it's not for your kids. It's not the way of the Chazal anyway. Chazal were very rational. You look in the Gemara, there's nothing like the systems you have today. Thank you for watching.
Okay, the way we're doing it.
People. So I met a Yid on the way, and he sees me watching my own recording. I'm reviewing it, checking it out, making sure there's no mistakes. And he says, what are you doing? I said, I'm just doing for Orthodox Jews. What happened? I said, Purim Party. And I said, they don't know the difference between porn and beauty. Just like they don't know the difference between philosophy and religion. Sometimes they always convolute the line. He has a brother that's about Tshuva in Yerushalayim.
Hello.
You have anything to say?
That's it.